Good morning, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mrs. Rochelle Pillay, and I'm the teacher of the Red Group. One of the reasons for this talk today is to try and help our kids improve on their strengths and their capabilities. We are seeing so many more kids this year experiencing difficulties in the different areas of development as opposed to the previous years. I think that this is largely in part to the disruptive year that we have had last year and the lockdowns. A lot of kids spent a lot of time indoors like the rest of us and missed out on valuable opportunities to be physically active, and this has definitely affected their development. As teachers, we still have to work harder actually to get them at the level that they need to be at before they enter grade R and more formalized schooling. It would definitely be helpful to have the parents on board for this. I'm just going to outline some of the areas of development that we cover in the grade RR year. The first area of development is social and emotional development. Then we cover physical development, language, fine motor development, maths, and basic skills. I'm going to go over the first three, and then Mrs. Tennant will be doing the next three. Social and emotional development involves the child's ability to be able to manage their feelings and their impulses. And these are needed for them to grow and learn, and needed for them to be able to establish and maintain functional relationships with their peers, as well as with adults around them. It teaches them how to react to situations in a manner that is more appropriate, and to be able to express their feelings with words. But also it teaches them to realize that their behavior can actually affect another person's feelings. Social and emotional development helps children to establish confidence and a positive self-image. So some of the things that we do at school to promote social and emotional development is following a consistent routine in the classroom and throughout our day, establishing a positive relationship with authority figures, where children are learned to be respectful and learn to listen the first time around, encouraging responsibility for belongings by getting them to take care of their stationery, making sure their belongings are packed away nicely in their bag, not lying around, that their bags are zipped up, packing away toys after they have played with it, taking turns, sharing, playing gently with friends, and being able to resolve conflict without needing much adult intervention. Also teaching them to just be respectful to others, to greet other people, and to follow our classroom rules. Some of the things that parents can do at home is just talking to your child, making them aware of feelings and emotions, their feelings as well as your own feelings. Encourage discussions about feelings. Ask them questions like, what made you feel happy at school today? What was the funniest thing that happened? And when asking those questions, you're guaranteed to get more of a response from children. Creating routines at home. Children feel safe and more in control when they know what to expect and they know what's coming next. So developing a consistent routine really helps them in this regard. For younger children, it's also sometimes helpful to have a visual routine. For example, a picture of a toothbrush, a plate of food, and a set of clothes that you can put up on a wall in the correct order, so that the child would be able to see what exactly they need to do and in which order. Encouraging independence is important. Letting your child feed themselves, dress themselves, doing age-appropriate chores, helping around the house, and it also helps them to build their self-esteem. Letting them problem solve before intervening, and making time for play. Creating situations for problem solving, pretend play using emotions, all these things can help a child to develop their social and emotional development. The next area of development is physical development. So we try to incorporate movement as much as possible into our daily activities to help children to build muscular strength, to build flexibility and endurance. As the children advance to higher grades, they'll also be required to sustain themselves in an upright position for a longer period of time. So we try and enhance and to build up those core muscles so that they are actually going to be comfortable when doing it. With the lockdown last year, our children seem to be seriously lacking in physical strength to be able to even sit upright for an extended period of time in the classroom and to be able to move with ease and coordination. While we do include this in our program, our kids are needing extra opportunities for physical activity and for active play. Here are some of the areas that we concentrate on and areas that could also be added into playtime at home. We do a lot of climbing, so jungle gyms, monkey bars, climbing walls, movement activities such as hopping, skipping, jumping, running, all helps a child to build coordination, ball skills, balance, hand-eye and foot-eye coordination, being able to cross the midline effectively, being able to sit upright at the table and on the floor, and body awareness in drawings of themselves. Parents can help by just letting children play outdoors more often, letting them get that extra physical activity, playing on jungle gyms, obstacle courses, making time for jumping, hopping, skipping, galloping. These all promote coordination. Even a simple game like hopscotch helps with coordination. Playing with balls, throwing, catching, kicking, animal walks, and swinging on the trampoline helps children to build their core muscle strength. Language development is also such an important part of our curriculum. It supports the child's ability to be able to communicate with others, and it also supports their ability to be able to express themselves and to understand feelings. At school, we encourage speaking in full sentences, extending vocabulary, being able to articulate and pronounce sounds clearly, listening to stories and discussions, answering questions thereafter to build auditory memory, following 3-part instructions independently, rhyming, identifying and writing names, as well as drawing pictures and talking about them. So what can parents do at home to help develop a child's language skills? So talk to your child, have discussions, read and discuss stories. Reading lets your child hear words used in different contexts and different ways, and can be the starting point for many discussions. Children love discussing things that they find interesting, so these are also a good way to start discussions. Try and create an awareness of rhyming words, leaving out words in stories, asking preschoolers to fill in the words can also be quite fun for them, and it can also help them to rhyme. Playing games like I Spy. You can even play games like I Spy with rhyming words, singing songs together, playing stories and songs in the car, and making use of audiobooks.
Hi, I'm Lisa Tennant, and I'm going to be covering the next topic that we're talking about for grade RR, which is fine motor development. So what fine motor development is, it's any skills that involve the use of finger muscles. So before children are able to read, to write and draw for extended periods in higher grades, we have to make sure that their muscles are strong enough. So we do a lot of things at school that help to develop their finger muscles. The most important skill they need at this age is a pincer grip. So it's the thumb and the pointing finger for holding their crayons. and I'll show you the correct pencil grip soon. But if your child does not enjoy coloring in or drawing, or they can't keep going with it for a while, then you need to find different activities to do to strengthen these hand muscles. Even if they're able to hold their pencil correctly, they might not have the right strength to keep going for a while. And that's where kids need more opportunities to use their hands to do activities involving small objects. And I'm going to show you pictures of the correct pencil grip. I'll show you with my hands how you hold them. And if the children are not holding their pencils with the correct pencil grip, it does make them tire more easily when they get older. So it is important to correct it at this age, otherwise you'll have a much harder job correcting it later. So the children need to hold their pencil, the grip like this, with their, we call it circle fingers at the top, and they hold their crayon in that space, and the other 3 fingers are at the bottom. A lot of children hold their pencils like this with the thumb, we call that a thumb wrap, wrapping over the top in order to get more control. But then they have to use their whole hand, their whole arm to move the crayon instead of just using their finger muscles. So that's what makes them get much more tired as they get older. So to correct that and help them to develop that control. So the things that we do at school, they need to hold the crayon with a tripod or 3-point finger grip. They need to have an effective control of their pencil, so their lines mustn't be wobbly or shaky when they're drawing and coloring in. And cutting, learning to cut with scissors along a straight line and around shapes. And so if the child is right-handed, then they cut in a clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. So they cut around the shape like that. And if they are left-handed, then they're going to be cutting in a clockwise direction around like that. It makes it much easier for them and it helps their control. So when they're holding these scissors, you can get them to hold their 3 fingers up, and their thumb goes in the top hole of the scissors. Their middle finger goes in the bottom scissors, and this one, we call the middle finger is the stinky finger. He's not allowed inside the scissors, so we put him outside and we use that one to help to squeeze the scissors closed. When they're cutting, they need to put their arm down by the side and they open it fully, like we say a big crocodile mouth, and they close it fully so that it can close, and they watch to see that they are on the line when they're cutting. Children also need to practice tracing along lines with their pencil, and we will start with writing their own names, and the grade R's will cover more how they want you to practice doing that from top to the bottom, left to right, and with a capital letter at the start and then small letters, not all capitals. We also do things like molding with Play-Doh, which helps to develop hand strength, and holding and controlling a paintbrush correctly. All of these things give them a foundation for grade R next year, so that they're able to achieve more complex tasks. And things that you can do at home to help improve their fine motor skills. You can encourage children, basically encourage them to do as much as they can independently. Putting up their zips, closing their bags, using knives and forks at the table, doing their own buttons. All of these things require their finger muscles. So the more you can get kids to do for themselves, the more they're forced to use their muscles. Rochelle already spoke about the importance of large muscle development, and the large muscles also affect the small muscles. So if they're not able to have core strength, if they don't have shoulder strength, they can't hold their arm up at the table when they're drawing and writing. So they need to have strong arm muscles, they need to have strong core muscles as well. A great activity that you can do is get a spray bottle like you do for spraying when you're cleaning, an empty one, put water in it and let them spray around the garden. This strengthens their cutting skill, their cutting muscles, opening and closing, and the kids will love that. Other thing you can get is a big sponge that you put in the bath. So when they're washing themselves, they're using that, they're squeezing to get foam out, and that helps to develop their hand strength. You can also give them a sponge, the bucket of water and soap to wash a wall or to wash a car. It can actually keep them going for ages, and it's a great activity. And anything that's up against a wall. So if you have a chalkboard wall, or if you have if you stick a piece of paper against a wall, that's great, because when they're drawing against a wall, they have to use their wrist muscle, and the wrist muscle is often what's not strong enough. When they're coloring in, they can't hold the pencil up, so that's when they lie their arm down and they color in strange ways. So drawing against a wall is very good. And even just letting your child scribble and color, you might think that's not great, but it's a start of drawing, because they're moving their arm and they're developing that muscle strength. And then for cutting, I know it's very messy, but you can get a shoebox and you can put different papers, magazines and stuff like that, and leave the scissors in there so that the child can cut over that box, and then everything stays together and you can supervise when they're doing their cutting activities. Another great thing is Play-Doh for hand strength, giving them Play-Doh to squish and to play with, and anything where they're handling small objects, popcorn seeds, counting them out, picking them up, putting them into a container, posting coins through a little piggy bank lid. All of those things help. And just bear in mind that if your child is behind in this area, it's not going to improve suddenly over a couple days or a week of you doing work with them. You're going to have to continually do it, and so that their muscle strength can build up, because it does take time. But developing their muscle strength helps to give them the confidence, because it helps them to feel like they can actually do the tasks at school, and they're more motivated to want to try. The next thing that we're going to talk about is our math skills. We generally find that math skills at this age are the most developed, because parents know the importance of math skills and they try to actively work on them. But at this age, we're trying to focus on making sure they get all the numbers, rote counting up to 20 correct before they move on, because they often miss out numbers between 10 and 20. And then once they've got up to 20, they can continue to count up further, up to 100 even. Another thing that we like to do for maths, which is very important for their brain development, is building puzzles. It develops so many different skills for them. It's matching colors, matching shapes, developing their eye muscles to notice things and to pick things out. So visual discrimination, and also solving problems. So by the end of the year, we like them all to be able to do a 24-piece puzzle. We also want them to be able to name shapes: circle, rectangle, triangle, square, and then there's extras like diamond, semicircle, crescent, and star. And the basic shapes are important for them to learn to draw and to recognize, as those are the foundations for them learning how to write letters and draw letters. Counting up objects that we practice at school, and making patterns using 2 colors or 2 shapes to start off with, like red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, and then going on to 3 patterns once they've got that concept. And also recognizing number symbols to 5 and knowing how many is 5, how many is 4. And we also use a lot of construction toys to help develop their maths brains. What you can do at home, you can do counting of random everyday objects. How many Smarties do you have? How many are red? How many are blue? How many are yellow? How many are green? And getting them to count cars when they drive past. How many white cars can you see? Let's count the cars as they go past. Getting them to do I Spy something that's green, and then they have to look for something that's green, or something that's a circle shape. Pointing out shapes in the home environment, getting them to look at things, what shape is it, and practicing making patterns with things. And if you don't have any puzzles, buy some puzzles. Start with some 12-piece puzzles, some 24-piece puzzles. After that it's 36, and you can go up as your child's able to complete them, and this gives them a great sense of satisfaction. Get them to sit and complete. The next area that we focus on is basic skills. This is a very important part of our school day and what we're teaching them, and it happens as part of our routine at school. And I think this is something that's missing from the kids not being around with lockdown last year. And this is where we give them tasks to complete, and they have to practice completing them independently. So we'll do different group work every week. We give them tasks. Some of them are more physical things like putting pegs into boards. Some of them are doing more artwork activities, and some of the things we work with them. So we give them the instruction. They have to go and get themselves organized, put their things out, find what they need, remember the instruction and follow it through. So plan what they're doing. Packing away afterwards, and then working positively with the people in their group as well, and being able to concentrate and focus on tasks. So things that you can do at home to help with this: you can get kids to set up the table before dinner time, put out a plate, put out a knife and a fork, put out cups for everyone, and get them to actually sit at a table while they're eating. Give them a task to do where they can actually sit and stay sitting they need to sit for at least 10 to 15 minutes at a table and complete something. You can also get a child-sized table and chair for them to sit at, and give them something to do where they have to complete a puzzle and focus on it. Encourage children to hang up their towels after they've bathed, to pack away their clothes, to carry dishes to the kitchen, just to learn to notice what mess they've made and pack it away afterwards. And also giving them verbal instructions and getting them to follow through with them. Say, I'm giving you an instruction now, I want you to do this, 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 let's see if you can remember that. And I think a lot of the things that we've spoken about as a whole are actually probably the best thing that you can do for your child is to encourage play, because children learn through playing, and we think they're just doing random things, but a lot of what they're learning is through play. They're picking up different objects, they're looking at things, they're figuring things out about the world. And so probably the best thing you can do is just to turn the TV off at home, turn off the screens, the tablets and everything, and decrease their screen time. They should be only watching like a maximum of an hour and a half of TV a day, because when they're sitting watching TV, they're not using their body muscles, they're not learning to see objects that are behind and before, everything's on the same plane. They're not having to use their finger muscles, they're not even using sitting muscles, because they're often lounging on the couch. So if you turn off the TV and you make them go and do something, they'll be bored for a while, they might moan, but they'll find something to do, they'll find something to fiddle with, they'll be using their finger muscles, they'll go outside, they'll play, they'll start using their words, they'll start engaging. And I think especially since lockdown last year, a lot of parents had to use TV more to cope, and tablets and stuff, but we need to catch up now on that muscle strength that's been lost. And thank you for listening to this, and I hope that it's been helpful for you.
Right, welcome parents to our presentation on just an introduction into grade R and the value that we have at Klipri Primary School and what our school has to offer your grade R children. We started this evening a couple of years ago. We as teachers just assume that parents know what's going on in their children's lives and at school. And now that we have the CAPS document, we have to follow certain things in grade R. And you have choices where your children go to school, so we just wanted to give you an idea of what Klipri Primary has to offer your children. So we're just going to run through what we think are the most important aspects from our school and what we expect of our children in their environment. So the first one we're going to look at is how we're going to identify our grade R children. Obviously we're attached to a preschool, so we have right from the younger children all the way up the triple R's, the double R's, and then our grade R's. So our grade R's are identified by their uniform. So we're very privileged that it can just be a grade R uniform, because our grade R's have their collared shirt, they are allowed to wear school shoes so that they get used to wearing school shoes in preparation for grade 1. So we have a very smart uniform. It has our logo on. and they wear that every day. When we go on special outings, we have a special uniform that we wear so that we can be identified out in our community. So, Mrs. Meekers and I have been at Klipri Primary for a number of years. I've actually been here for 17 years in total. So between us we have a lot of experience. We've both been teaching for over 20 years. Our 2 grade R classes are the blue group and the purple group. And in our classes we each have 20 children. We find that's a good number. It allows us to get equal groups, and then we are able to have a lot more space within our classrooms to work. Our facilities, because we are attached to the preschool, our children are allowed to develop the skills that they need to develop through the years. And so we build on those skills from Double R. So we know that the Double R program is a skills-based program. So when they come into grade R, they have all that knowledge, they have all those skills, and we are then building on that foundation. We tend to look at the grade R year as the foundation of a home. If you don't build your foundation properly, the home cannot be built correctly, and then those gaps are always there. So we try and make sure that our grade R year and our double Rs have a really good foundation so that they can go across to grade 1 with confidence. So our school has a beautiful playground. It's got amazing resources. Because we're attached to the preschool, our children are able to use our musical instruments. We have fantasy areas, we have our art room, we have all of those available to our children in grade R. So we're not confined just to one area, so that it's not a closed plan environment for them. They are able to go out and to use the bicycles, to use the equipment in every day. So I think our children are quite fortunate that we have the open spaces that we do. Within our classrooms, we have our interns, and we're very fortunate to have those interns because they are studying to be teachers. So they have the knowledge that they need to be able to help our children. And we rely on our interns to help us to do group work. So within our classrooms, we divide our children into groups so that we can spend time one-on-one with children and get them be able to interact with us. And our interns are then able to help children in their group work. So we like to work in small groups, and that is part of the Grade R program, that we work within those small groups so that we are able to gauge where the children are and to be able to help them where their areas that they need. We have a problem-solving program that we work with our extension teacher, and she takes our groups every day. So she will extend the children, or she will work with specific problems that we identify, just to give those children in a small environment a chance to be able to use the vocabulary that they need and to be able to build on the skills that they've got. Then Mrs. Cummins this year has started working with small groups as well, and she's doing phonic awareness. We've identified there's a little bit of a delay because of the lack of schooling last year. A lot of children in the double R's missed a chunk of school, so we're identified that there is a bit of a phonic awareness that the children are lacking. So she is doing that with small groups as well, and she's enjoying that with the children. Alright, so in everything that Mrs. Meekers and I plan, we always make sure that we're keeping our school vision in mind, and we always are making sure that we go back to basics, making sure that we are doing exactly what we need to do for our children, and then extending them even more. So our vision is growing curious minds for a changing tomorrow. So everything we do is through play. We make sure that the children have access to concrete apparatus, and making sure that they're working through from their bodies first and then through into pen and paper. And I'll talk just a little bit just now about those 3 stages. So there are 3 stages that children learn. The first is the kinetic stage. So that is taking from their bodies. Everything that we do, we start with themselves, their beginning knowledge. They need to know from themselves how their bodies work, how their environment, and how they are in that environment. So that is through their senses, making sure everything is play-based. Everything that we do is conceptualized in their play. So we play as much as possible, and that is how those concepts are developed. Then once they've worked that out and they've got all those concepts and they understand it from themselves, then they move into the concrete stage. And that's by using objects, enhancing it through their play, being able to count out the blocks, being able to use counters, so making that correlation between objects and things and numbers and language. Once they've gone through those two stages, then they can move on to paper and pencil, and it starts to make sense to them. Then they can actually take their knowledge and use it on their pen and paper. So they have to have worked through those two stages first before we get into the paper and pencil stage. So our CAPS document, as Mrs. Meeker said, it's divided into 3 areas of learning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about life skills. So life skills is everything about our bodies, it's about our knowledge of the world, and everything that we do in our classroom follows the CAPS document, and it's divided into little topics. So each week we will concentrate on a new topic. So this topic knowledge gives them the vocabulary that they need. It explains their world, so things like weather, farming, healthy living. This week we're doing pets. So everything that we do in the classroom will be geared towards that topic, and we will give the children the knowledge that they need. Life skills is also about promoting friendships, and I think in our school we have a unique environment because we have the younger children, so they are able to share, participating in small groups and collaborating with the other children. A big part of children's lives at this age is problem solving. They need to be able to problem solve, and our children are not so great at problem solving because us as parents, we like to do everything for our children. So we need to make sure that we're giving our children opportunities to be able to problem solve and work things out for themselves, and they also need to be able to fail. They need to be able to have those emotions, be able to work through things and problem solve for themselves. Independence is a big part of grade R. We're working towards getting to grade 1, and as you know, in grade 1 you drop your child at the gates and you let them go in by themselves. So we do encourage our grade Rs to be dropped at the gates, and they come in by themselves. They can carry their own bags, they can unpack for themselves as they do at the end of the day. So we do go on outings in grade R, and we tend to walk everywhere. So if your child is not used to being out in the village, take your children out. They need to be aware of strangers, how to deal with strangers. They need to be able to walk on the road. So the outings that we do, we normally go across to the village vet, we go to Spa, we go to Roses to have something to eat. We go to the library, we go down to Stokers to visit the train. Sometimes we visit Kloof Junior and we go and have a sports day with them. And at the end of the year, we walk across to the tin shed. That is our big outing for the year. So make sure your children are able to be independent when you go out, and they are able to listen and follow your instructions when you're out in the public. So we need our children to be able to express themselves, and we do that through fantasy, dance and art. So we are very fortunate to have big spaces, fantasy areas and art in our art room. Then one big thing is the growth mindset, that there's no such thing as failure. We do everything through learning, and children need to learn how to cope with things. They need to be able to problem solve, and they need to be able to get used to doing things that it doesn't always go to plan. They are at school for the next 12 years, so they need to learn and how to negotiate, collaborate, and getting into that mindset of learning. Then the last part of life skills is their gross motor. We believe that children need to be moving all the time. We don't want them to be sitting for long periods, although at this stage they need to be able to concentrate and focus for about 15 to 20 minutes in one given space. But they're always moving. We're getting them up, we're getting them moving, we're singing, we're moving our bodies. Being active encourages children to learn in that concrete way that I spoke about in the beginning. Our garden again is designed specifically to help children develop those muscles and to strengthen their core that they are going to need when they are sitting at their tables, to maintain that posture and to be able to hold these shoulder girdle muscles and to be able to use the formation when they're writing. Being able to run and climb and hop and skip is really important for their cognitive development, because those stages will help in their brain development. And don't forget, children, by the time they are 5, your brain has almost reached the capacity of learning. So we need to make sure that we get as much of that learning in place before they are 5. All right. So our language is divided into reading, writing and listening. And parents do get concerned that it is reading. Remember, it's emergent reading and it's emergent writing. So we're getting the children ready for grade 1. So we do that through discussion, communication, playing games, and using language all the time, and we develop those things through that language. Another important one is listening skills, and that you can develop through stories. And in grade R, we need to make sure that the children are following a 3-part instruction. So it may be go and get your box, get your book, and come and sit on the carpet. Or get your box, write your name on your paper, and begin. So at home, if you can encourage those 3 instructions, it makes it a lot easier for the children. Then a big part of language is identifying the sounds. Please don't teach your children the alphabet, A, B, C. That's not how children get into reading. They need to be able to hear the sound that each letter makes. So we focus on the A, the B, and the K. If you're going to be teaching your children how to write their name, please make sure you follow the correct pencil grip, and there is a little handout from the double R teachers. It's very hard once they've established a grip that's not quite correct to then correct it and make sure that the only capital letter at the beginning of their name and none of the rest. So just encourage them to go from left to right and top to bottom. Then being able to read, the children read words around the classroom, and it's things that we do every day. It's the weather, blue group, window, door. So it's like they can read KFC, they know what McDonald's is, they're not actually reading it, they're associating a picture with what they know it is. And that's how they begin to form understanding, kind of like words in their world. So language is a really important one, and that only comes through you communicating with your children. You need to talk to them, you need to find out where their language is. And then of course, in the classroom, through the topics and beginning knowledge, we build on that. All right, then lastly, how are you going to get your child ready, not only for grade R, but I think any change in any grade, I think it's important that we prepare our children and you explain to them that they're moving on to another age. They need to know that they've got the confidence to do it, that they're independent enough to be able to move to the next grade. And we feel that through our program, our children are ready to move to grade 1. When we meet with the grade 1 teachers at Kloof Junior, they always say that they can see the Kloof Pre-Primary children because they are confident, because we're giving our children the opportunities to express themselves, to be confident, and to be independent. So independence comes with giving them tasks that are manageable, chores at home, making sure that they can unpack their bag, pack their bag, dress themselves, make their bed. Those are simple tasks that can be done at home. Allow them to do it. It doesn't always have to be perfect, but you need to give them the opportunities to do it. Critical thinking, they need to be able to think for themselves. We can't keep giving them the answers. We need to make sure that they actually think and come up with their own solutions. And that also helps them in the classroom when they come up against someone who's sitting next to them and they have a difference of opinion, or they have an altercation. They need to be able to work through those things. Good. Another important part is developing good listening skills, making sure that they are following your instructions, listening while someone else is speaking, and of course songs and rhymes are also important. Bedtime stories will help encourage children to listen, predict the endings, and obviously the enjoyment of reading. And then lastly, just making sure that you know that your child is happy, making sure you are connected with the teachers. We are here. You have our email addresses, or phone Mrs. Velleman, making sure that you know what is happening in your children's lives. Talk to them, making sure that each day they come home and they are able to express to you what has happened in their lives. So that's how a few little tips how we feel that you could help getting your children ready for grade R.
Hi everybody, my name is Julia Meekers. I'm the grade R teacher and I teach in the Purple Group. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about firstly our daily routine that we do at school. The grade R day is slightly longer than the double R day. We actually only finish at 12:15 and we've got quite a full program during the day. The day starts with arrival, as the children arrive at school, and they come into the classroom, and then that's when they get a chance to do art activities or blocks or puzzles. It's really a bit of free choice, but it is also an opportunity for myself as a teacher to then catch up if a child's missed something the day before, and also to reinforce a concept with a child that might have been struggling the day before. We like to have the children at school by 7:45 in the morning, because obviously we've got quite a lot to get through. So at 7:45 we start to tidy up, and we have our first ring of the day. Our first ring of the day is our morning ring. Obviously every day it's very similar. We do the weather, we do the days of the week, we do the months of the year, a lot of repetition, talking about yesterday, today, tomorrow. And then we usually use that ring going on to teach our maths concept for the day, because we start the day doing our maths concept for the day. Obviously once we've explained the activities, and then we go into activity time. Our maths work is worked in a group system. So on a Monday we would explain all the activities to the children, and then we will explain what they need to do, and then they rotate around the activities. One group always works with the teacher, and we prefer to have more of a hands-on activity with them where they're learning concretely, not just sitting doing worksheets and things like that. After that it's time to tidy up and go outside. Then they have playtime in the garden. Obviously now with COVID, the children are staying with their teacher, and they rotate around the areas of the school from day to day, and so they get exposed to all the different areas of the school using all the different equipment in each area. After playtime it's time to come back inside, go to the toilet, and then it's snack, and then after snack we go into our second ring of the day. The second ring of the day is really our life skills ring. Our life skills is either a discussion ring related to the theme that we are doing. In grade R, our themes rotate weekly as opposed to every second week like the rest of the school does, just because we've got lots more themes that are set down by the Department of Education. There are some themes that if there's a lot of content, we will actually carry it over for 2 weeks. So we would do a discussion, or we'd do music, movement, show and tell on a Friday, and that's how that second ring of the day goes. Then it's back to the garden for a little bit of playtime. After playtime, it's tidy up into the classroom, and then it's time for our third ring of the day. So you can see now the children's have got a lot longer day, and the third ring of the day is our language ring of the day. We use this is also when story is done at the end of the day, and then obviously the language is our listening and speaking, our emergent reading, our emergent writing. We're introducing the letters of the alphabet to the children, and so that happens right at the end of the day before the children go home. So like I say, the day is a little bit longer, and there's quite a lot of that goes into the day. And so we also ask parents in grade R to try and not miss school just for no reason, to rather come to school, and also to make sure that your child is on time so that they don't miss any part of the day. In grade R we work very strictly with the CAPS document. This is the document that's set down by the Department of Education. The CAPS document is divided, the subject areas that we have to concentrate on are divided into life skills. This is the emotional, social and physical development of side of the child. Mrs. Vincent will go into that in a little bit more detail. And then you've got the language side, which is your communication, your listening skills, your emergent reading, your emergent writing. In grade R they don't really learn to read and write as such, but we're introducing the letters of the alphabet. They're looking at words, they're listening to sounds, so some of them incidentally do start to read and write, and obviously we do write their names and look at letter formation. But that's why it's called emergent reading and emergent writing, as it's not formal yet. And then the last part is the maths part of the curriculum, and maths is broken down into numbers, counting, shape, etc. Each of these categories have to be scored, and so we are doing continual assessments with the children. These are scored, and then they are actually submitted through to the department at the end of each term. In grade R you receive a report every term, not just in the second and the fourth term, and these scores are also sent through. And then I'm also just going to go into a little bit more detail about maths. With regards to the maths program in grade R, our maths is divided up into 5 areas. You've got number, which incorporates your counting, recognition of number, counting forwards, counting backwards, problem solving, counting in twos are some of the things that we cover in maths as under number. Then we've got measurement. Measurement is obviously looking at the size of things, big and small, doing comparisons. We also start early in the year by looking at using a non-standard measurement, unit of measure. For example, we'll get blocks out and we'll take a pencil. How many blocks long is the pencil? Which one is longer? Which one is shorter? Data handling is also something that is covered in grade R. We start looking very simply at graphing. We'll talk about pets, for example. How many people have got a dog? We'll add up how many dogs we've got, how many cats we've got, which one has got more, which one has got less. So bringing in the language of maths using data handling. We'll also then ask the children to be sorting objects and then recording their findings. Once they've recorded their findings, can they answer the questions? Which one has got more? Which one has got less? Are any of them equal? Shape and space is another part of the maths program. Shape and space, obviously looking at the shapes. We build on from the 2D shapes that they learn in double R and go on to learning 3D shapes, trying to do it as concrete as possible, making little cubes using toothpicks and marshmallows, and learning about space. Where do things fit? Is it under? Is it over? Is it next to? Is it left or right? In front? Behind? Obviously, children can learn so much just through the practical application. For example, building with blocks. And which one do you need to put at the bottom? Can we put the smallest block at the bottom? What will happen to the tower? Then we also look at pattern. Pattern, obviously, we're looking at sometimes color patterns. We start with the very simple patterns, red, yellow, red, yellow. Then we might mix it up and add another color in, red, yellow, blue. We can also do patterns using shapes. We can use objects. So those are the 5 areas of our maths. So it's number, measurement, data handling, shape and space, and pattern. Things that we're covering, like I said, the road counting, but it is also important that the children understand the value. It's not just being able to count. You know, can they go to the kitchen? Can they give you 3 potatoes if you ask them for 3? Asking them, if you had 5 potatoes and you took 2 away, how many would be left? So doing simple problem solving with them is also part of our maths program that we work on. The grade R children do go with our extension teacher during group work time and will be doing something independently. While some of them are working independently, they'll be working with concrete things, being taught how to solve practical problems, working out with counters, taking so many counters away, adding counters on. And once they've grasped those concepts just using the counters, then obviously they can start going onto a different form, and we can start looking at how would we write it down. If we had 10 and we took away 2, how many would we have left? Things like that. So we do a lot of practical things. We look at patterns. We'll be using our pegboards, looking at a pattern card. Can they copy that? Can they transfer it onto things? Can they make using Play-Doh something big, something small? Can they count out objects? So our maths program is quite comprehensive. Okay, thank you very much.